that the American and flipping took it out of me. And but this weather, what else this weather? I mean, it's
Yes, we're getting
one
some rain,
day
eh?
I see you in hoodies, I'm in hoodies. I mean, it's just been crazy. It's been
Yeah.
so cold here. I don't know about you guys.
No, same. Yeah, shit. It's like we're back in winter again.
Yeah, I called the Oaks from Crawford Neck because I was planning to go down probably sometimes towards the end of the year just to try and finish off my YouTube episodes. I was going to try and shoot myself a clippy.
Yeah.
I give the Oaks a buzz down in Willamore, and they said yes, but now's not the right time. There's flipping snow there in the middle of November.
No, it's been a bit crazy, eh? But like I say, we've been lucky. We've had lots of rain.
Well, that's always good. But so how's your season? I mean, how did everything pan out? So we haven't touched base in a while, but
Dude, my season was an epic fail. I had 12 cancellations. It was not fun. It was,
but I'm sure,
yeah,
like,
it's
but
scared,
I
scared to.
mean, with the sorry, with the political climate, I mean, it must be a little bit better going forward.
Well, yeah, I think after with Trump winning, it's kind of like I saw on the very first hunting forum on Facebook. Hey guys, we can start booking our trips again. So yeah, if people are looking on the forecast to start booking, maybe I'm gonna have a good season if it's 2025. But yeah, no, this year was rough. All the run in the mill Okies didn't want to spend money. Eh?
But Wayne, what is? I mean, I do want to touch a bit on like all the platforms and stuff online and all that jazz. But what sort of client? I mean, you just launched your podcast now. That's exciting. So, is that something you're planning to target new clientele from, or is it just something that you want to share with the rest of South Africa or the world? Or
The whole idea of the podcast is because obviously the YouTube channel's up and it's been going well, but I've been a bit quiet on that front. Obviously, last time you and I spoke, my wife was pregnant. Now I've got a little 8-month-old, so life's changed drastically, dude. You know what it's all about, and
yeah,
super busy with the little one. It's a whole new ball game, and yeah, it's just been one of those busy years. But I think the idea with the podcast is I've had a lot of people listening and going, oh, we like what you talk about, but we don't get time to go watch it on YouTube. We drive around, listen to it in our pickup. So it's kind of what I put it out there. I said, well, do I start it? Don't I start it? There's lots of people doing it. Um, so I thought, okay, well, I'll put feeders out, and I got some good response to people who actually watched the episodes that I'm busy posting out there now on YouTube. So I thought, well, let's start it from there. Um, I've got a lot of information that I'd like to share, and I think the guys that watch and well, not watch the YouTube channels, but listen to the podcast are the guys that we are marketing to come out here, the older guys. It's nice going to go sit at your desk and you're doing a bit of work and you pop a podcast on. I got my wife who walks around the house with the bloody podcast playing 24/7. So I think you might hit a bigger or broader market with the podcast because not every time somebody's got time to sit in front of a TV or anything on YouTube. Everyone's got a cell phone in their hand, they stick it in their pocket, they put the earphones in and off they go and they listen to whatever tickle their fancy. And I think the idea with the podcast is I want to tell people more about what actually happens in the hunting industry. Everything's blurred. There's no transparency in the hunting industry. And like you and I've spoken before, I get a lot of flack for being too honest. And I never thought honesty was a serious problem. But our hunting industry is crooked, dude. I'm not scared to say it. Everyone's going to call me out on it, but it's truth. There's a lot of hidden things that go out there that clients actually need to know about before booking with somebody. So I think the podcast is going to help with a lot of tips and, what to look out for. I had a recent conversation with a guy now. He'll know him. Sean dropped a message talking about, dangerous game hunters. What do you look for in a licensed PH? And I turned around and I said to him, well, first of all, the oak's got to be 21. I don't know, somewhere along the line they changed that and guys could get licensed earlier, but 21, you got licensed with the government. If you did it like you and I did it, you would probably hunt 4 years before you got the opportunity to do dangerous game. All right. Then you had to do, I think it was, 60 or 90 days or 120 days that we had to do doing 3 of the 7. So you add it all up and you work out how old will that professional hunter be once he's actually licensed as a PH, as a dangerous game PH. And yeah, you got licensed dangerous game PHs that are 21 years old. But that actually licensed dangerous game PH is something funky there. And I think that's the truths that need to be told. If you get a dangerous game PH which is around 30 and he's just got his license, you're kind of on the right mark. And the guys are older, then you got a better idea, depending on when he did his license. So the questions are, when did you do your license? And you can do the maths from there, whether he has actually done enough years behind his belt before he's actually registered. So I think those are the type of things that I want to talk about on the podcast, opening eyes to those, different scenarios. People don't know. You get there, you get a green PH, it's going to take you out on the buff hunt, and the oaks never hunted a buff. I've been in that situation before, and I think also just like another point is for the pressures on the young PHs that are there. They just get pressured to do everything, and the oaks are too young to turn around and say, "Hey, shit, I don't think that's right," and they can't tell the outfitter, "No, I've never done it." They just grab it, and then it causes big problems for the industry.
Do you think the oaks that actually need to listen to these podcasts and these YouTube episodes and stuff that we air, do you think they're actually listening? I mean, you want to talk about institutions like FASA and all that sort of stuff. I mean, these are the guys that are meant to be listening to us. And meanwhile, I kind of get a sense that they're actually dodging the bullet. And I know I step on a lot of toes because when COVID hit, I kind of released a lot of podcasts saying that we're all these big institutions, aren't they, looking after our PHs and stuff when they needed to or when they needed it the most. But now all of a sudden, like we airing our concerns basically on social media and the broader picture, but no one's ever reached out to me. I don't know about you, but I mean, it's just crazy that we know so much of what's going on in the industry, yet nobody said anything.
Yeah, I got a bit of a tongue lashing on a comment that I made on YouTube regarding, a comment that my buddy old John McHugh made on one of the salt lick things when the father guy jumped onto it, and the guy told me, "Oh, you aren't even a member of FASA." So I said, "Well, of course I'm not a member of FASA. Why would I be a member of FASA? You got to give me a reason to be a member of FASA. You got to give me a reason to pay that exorbitant amount of money yearly to be part of your affiliation. So if I'm going to be giving you 5,000 Rand a year, which in the grand scheme of things, people don't, in America, it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but to the average South African and stuff like that, that's a hell of a lot of money because straight away, I think if I looked at the father stuff, you can register if you're PH, but as soon as you are registered as an outfitter, you got to pay the outfitter rate, which is even more expensive. So I think it's like 5,000 Rand a year or something else. But what do you get for the 5,000 Rand a year? Like you said, when COVID hit, and the PHs were losing their work left, right, and center and couldn't make livelihoods and shit like that, these are your affiliations that are supposed to help you. What did they actually do? I do understand they'll do a lot for conservation, and they say they do a lot for conservation. In that specific podcast with Jono and Sean, it was about the, young PHs. And I fully agree with Jono, the young PHs that, they've done a bloody 10-day course and they get thrown in the deep end. And this is where I come into it, where fitters put a lot of pressure on those young guys. And then it puts them in a tricky situation. So it does put a bit of a dampener on the quality of pH that's coming out, and then what's FASA actually doing about those pHs. So talking about FASA with, you saw that video that went around that said we have to all re-register or do that. Can't actually think of the right words for it now, but
the NQ4 level test or whatever it was.
You got to become a diploma and blah, 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 and everything else like that. So you got to pay FASA and go and do it and try and get all the old cards. And I went around asking every old professional hunter that I know, what are they doing with this? So one, my uncle Arnold, his son Jason, his brother, they all registered PHs. They all hunt for massive big companies, some of the biggest here in the Eastern Cape, and none of them are going to do it. And I'm going, well, if you buggers aren't going to go do it, why would I go do it? What is the reason for us to go and change this? I've been a guide since 2009. I've been an outfitter since 2012. You know, I understand the guys that are going to do it now. If you're going to do a new thing, set up a whole new syllabus and actually do it properly, like we've all said it should be done. Because I know in 2009 when I did my license, there was a period there where it was going to be turned into a 4-year course. And I remember sitting at Chappie Scott's place, and I think there were 3 guys in group that were all under 21. And Noel Ross still said to them, guys, if you haven't turned 21 by the time this law is passed, you will have to go and do the 4-year diploma. So we're willing to pay you back your money, and you can go pack up and go home now. Or you take the gamble, we take your money, and if you haven't turned 21 by the time they change it, we'll see you back here to write exams and do the 4-year diploma. And all 3 of those oaks decided, no, they'll do it, and the course hadn't changed. So, yeah, like I said, I haven't got an issue with doing a proper course, because I do think after that came out with the government pushing for the course, and it never materialized, the PH schools pushed numbers, like as in drastically. So when I got in, you had to like pre-book years in advance. There were only 3 schools a year. They did 30 professional hunters a year at Chappie Scott. That was it. But then when that all came out, then they were doing nearly 3 schools a month. So they were pumping out, 30 to 60, PHs every 2 months. It was, ridiculous. And that's when you start flooding the market with a lot of PHs, and hence the reason that's why you were, as a guard then, how can I put it? You were in a niche business. PHs were sought after. You knew PHs by name. I came into the industry, I knew the older PHs. There weren't many. People knew me as the next generation coming in. You knew the oaks coming in behind you. Now all of a sudden there's so many bloody PHs you don't even know. Eastern Cape, like I said, kick a bush and outfit the falls out, kick another bush. You got 20 PHs waiting there to get in the queue to go and hunt at the camp. And I think that's what actually, I think that's affected the hunting industry, or the pH side of things. So again, going back to FASA, what's FASA doing about that? You educating, call it, and you're schooling so many professional hunters, but you actually don't have the work for them. So now what? Then you'll have the guy from FASA going, well, you're complaining you haven't got jobs, you're complaining you haven't got work because you're not a good PH, or you've left the country because you're not a good PH. But the problem is when you've got a flooded market like that, you've got kids coming out of school, mommy and daddy's bought a double cab and said, bugger off and go work, your PH license. They're actually willing to work for $500 a day, and you started way back when at $1,000 a day, and you can barely get that now from some of these outfitters, that are out. So I always said we actually need to start a PH union so we can put the screws on the outfitter to pay properly, because at the end of the day, which again, like going back to the podcast that I started now, is opening the eyes to the clients of what actually belongs to the PH and what actually belongs to the outfitter. Because you and I both know, as a freelance guide, you got to rock up there with your own tracker, your rifle, your ammo, your dog, your truck, your skinning stuff, all your knives, your everything, your camera, your everything is all yours to create this hunt for this client. And the bug gives you $500 a day at the end of the hunt, or 1,000 Rand, or whatever. I think the fees are now, what some I heard, of 1,300 Rand, and then they get commissions. Other places it's 2,000 Rand a day. But if you work out in the grand scheme of things, you're still paying for your fuel, you're still paying for your tracker, and you're still feeding it. So, I don't know where it's going to be. So yeah.
Yeah, it's always a tough one. I mean, I always like to use the word, is it sustainable? Is this whole model sustainable? Because I mean, I think we're still riding with some of the highs and lows of what COVID had. Because I mean, you and I both know that once COVID happened, there was like just this massive boom that came into the country, and like you said, every Tom, Dick, and Harry became a professional hunter because they had nothing else to do during COVID. A lot of them lost their full
Yeah,
time jobs, and they thought, well, this was a sustainable way of making an income coming in. So, I mean, I know oaks are still to this day that are in their early and late 40s that are still going out and doing their professional hunting courses and stuff. And I don't hold anything against them, and I'm sure they've got a wealth of knowledge as far as hunting and stuff like that's concerned. But I just find that sometimes along the line that they a little bit naive to the opportunities that are out there. I mean, it's not all sunshine and roses at the moment. I mean, although the industry is looking positive, and especially the Trump's election, like I was saying, we get a lot of the blue collared customer uh,
yeah.
really pumps into this country once we see Trump come into office. But you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like I said, sunshine and roses for all the PHs out there.
Yeah, look, I would prefer like an older PH coming to do the course and going on than having these young oaks that, um, will bend at pressure or, go and do the wrong thing because the outfitter said they must go and do it. You know, look, um, I got myself into a tricky situation with the outfitter, but luckily when I did my license, I was already 20, 24, 25 years old when I did my license, and I traveled, I'd worked overseas twice. So I'd, grown up a little bit. You know what I mean? So when someone told me I must go and do something that's wrong, I told them, stuff that, you're not paying me for that. You know what I mean? Um, and I think what happens with the younger oaks, they, get a little bit of pressure and they go do it. So I'd be more tempted in them, raising the age for guards to 25, like in some other countries. You know what I mean? I think it's up in Central Africa, some of the bigger, you got to be 25 years old or start at 21. You got to do 4 years apprenticeship with the company, and then at
Apprenticeship,
25 you
yeah.
can do your license. And then I think you're mature enough because you must remember the other thing is we are guarding guys that are what age? My first client I ever guarded, dude, was a 78-year-old ex-chopper pilot. And I was 24, 25 years old, you know. Now I must go take this guy to, he's got a world of, knowledge. He was a Black Hawks pilot, and he's got to listen to me in the bush to keep him safe. I think also with clients coming out here and they end up with an 18-year-old PH, I'd be ticked off personally if I've flown halfway across the world and I end up with an 18-year-old because the oak's just wet behind the ears and he's just come out of school. You
Right.
do get some mature 18-year-olds. Look, I was guarding with clients since I was 16 and I grew up in the bush and grew up hunting. I think that makes a difference. Like you started young, you hunted, you were in the industry from a young age. It does make a difference. So you've got those guys that have been at your parents' own companies that I think, yeah, they might be able to be exempt, but a guy that's walked out of school that's never done a week on a farm, here's a prime example. We had a guy that came all the way from England. He'd immigrated to South Africa and he was at our course. So he went to England and his family, they immigrated. He still had his South African thing, made lots of money there. He came back this side. Hunted a day in his life, dude. He bought himself the best pair of binos. He bought himself the best rifle, scope, everything. Like I came to course, failed his ball sighting, failed his pup charge, couldn't distinguish between trophies and stuff like that on our 10-day course. But yet, when he wrote the final exam, because he could absorb and regurgitate, because that's how they want you to do it at these exams, he passed with 90 odd percent on the legal paper and he passed with like 100% on that general knowledge paper that he wrote. And there he is as a registered professional hunter. But yet, in his practical, he was told to go and shoot a common springbuck, but he shot a trophy black springbuck there. So is that the type of person you want guarding you? You know what I mean?
That's a hell of a lot of school fees to be paid there,
but you understand, those are the guys that are getting the jobs from the guys that, like you and I. I've grown up in a farming background. I've hunted since I was 9 years old. My father's an avid hunter. My uncles are professional hunters. My cousins are professional hunters. I've gone on hunts with them. I've done the practical. When I went to go do my PH license, I went and spent 2 weeks or 2 months with somebody, when they had clients, to go and see if this is actually what I'm, you know, in for. You know what I mean? And go and happy. Go and do the hard work. Go follow an experienced PH for 2, 3 hunts. Most of these places. I remember when I was guiding, and my cousin wanted to be a PH. I went to the outfitter that I was working for, and I said, "Listen, yeah, my cousin is keen to go and do his PH license. Would you allow him to tag along with me?" 99.9% of those outfitters, especially the big companies, will say no problem with the come. Costs him nothing. They eat at the lodge with you. You show them how to deal with clients, work with clients, go on the hunts and stuff like that. I had my cousin, he went and did 3 hunts with me there. And after those 3 hunts, he was like, "No, bugger this, nice auctioneer." So, you know what I mean? It's not made for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't, at least that way, you don't have to go do the course. And I think a lot of guys have this like honeymoon, I don't know, rose-colored glasses at professional hunting is the easy. I used to get it a lot. You go on permanent holiday. What do you have to do? You walk
Right.
around the felt and you go hunting. It's easy work. And then I tell the oak, but listen, hours are from 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock the following morning, and I start at 4 again. You know, and I have to do that flat out with a smile on my face with every client that comes in. My hours are long. What are your hours? I start at 8 until 5.
Right.
Said, but it doesn't work like that with us. So how can you say we're on holiday? But the reason why they say that is because you're only working so many days. But if you actually worked out the hours that we did in those days, we worked bloody hard, at the end of the, and then physically
Right.
challenging. That's the other thing. Um, and other than the mental side of it, where you're dealing with the stress, you can have a bad client. It's a challenging job, but it can also be very rewarding in one sense. And if you get in at the right places, it can be extremely rewarding. You learn a lot. You learn great skills. You get to meet excellent people from all over the world. I've made friends all over the world. Yeah, I can pick up the phone now
Right.
and phone people and off the off the world. Because I've hunted with that that many different people from Germany, America, Russians, Spanish oaks. You make contacts, and I think if you're a people's person and you like meeting people, and I think it is a nice job to get into, but you're not going to get rich off of it. It's definitely not
Yeah.
one where it's going to be lucrative. Let's put that.
Wayne, now that you're out for that, and I'm sure things are gonna start picking up and stuff. Well, what are you gonna be looking for in a PH?
Dude, the the biggest thing with the PH you want is somebody who comes in and fits your mold. You know, if a guy is willing to hunt for me and South African good old fashioned bucky hunter, bucky stalker, I'm not interested in that. And I'm not here. I don't want a PH who's going to come here and shoot the first animal he sees and load his bucky full by 10 o'clock in the day. We all can go and hunt in those places and shoot 20, 30 animals and stuff. That's not why you're here. The guy needs to be able to hold himself, have manners, be able to be a people's person. First and foremost, you're here for your guests, your clients. You're making their trip a trip of a lifetime. The animals on top of that are the bonus. Those are the cherries on the cake. So you got to work hard and hunt hard for those species. With me, I, I've got very difficult hunting areas. You visited down here briefly with Pat, and you hunted down here. These are the areas I hunt. I got to find a PH that's going to be able to cope in these situations. Yeah, thick Fish River Valley, thick Coombs Bush. You're hunting along the coast. I think that would be my challenge, to find somebody who's used to this type of hunting, because it is very different when you start going towards Taka and Kraddock and Kuru, and you know, you've got to be able to fit the mold and
Yeah.
make a plan. I think that would be the biggest challenge in finding a PH here, um, for my side of things. But most of the guys, if they've hunted with big companies, like gone and hunted for like the frontiers where they've got big farms and places like that, they are put under pressure in big areas and stuff and tough terrain. They generally those guys that actually can hunt and been there for season after season can hunt anywhere. You can put them in any situation. They'll read the bush, they'll read the landscape, they'll ask questions, can ask the staff. There's a tip for any PH. Go make friends with all the boys there on the farm. All the farm hands know where the game is. That's how you start hunting. At the end of the day, I think just a well-mannered, well-rounded oak with a great personality to give a client full experience. He doesn't need to be the best hunter. Let's put it that way. But if he can do a quality hunt without getting stressed and throwing his toys in front of the clients, I've been at outfitting businesses where the oak loses his shit there at the lodge because he hasn't shot something, and the client's been missing. You got to be able to cope with those stressful situations and show the client or figure out a way how to help the client. Remember, it's his once in a lifetime holiday. So you got to look after it. And I think that's probably what I'd look for. But at the moment, I would like, I laughed about that's a question. My wife asked, well, I was planning on booking a big group of Spanish oaks this year that canceled. We were going to do 6 buffalo, and it was going to be one hell of a hunt through a buddy of mine who's in Spain. He's got his own outfitting business there. And those oaks still might come. So she said to me, well, were you going to use as a PH? So I said, well, I'm going to phone Dylan first. And then the next time I'm going to phone his bossy and then say, okay, right, I've got my team of 3. I don't need anyone else. Well,
Yeah.
if I tell Dylan go out there, he's going to figure shit out and come out the bush with something. And then I'll tell bossy, you know what I mean? I'll pick guys that I enjoy hunting with. And I'll give youngsters a chance if they've shown me they're willing to graft. But I'm a one-man show, dude. I'm never going to be the guy that books hundreds of clients a year. If I do 10 bookings a year, whether it's one client and it's only 10 clients a year, or whether it's 20 clients a year because I've done a bunch of 2-on-1s, I'm not here to. I want to sell a proper experience. Like you, that's the experience is one thing. I'm not a grocery shop.
But it's also what's sustainable for you. I look at a lot of situations. I mean, I've spoken about it recently. It's all about sustainability, and you look at our industry now, and I can't. I said it last night, but I can't help it. I'm an optimistic person, and I like to think the best of everything, but I can't help but think about the fact that yourself and a lot of the other guys that are really doing good work within the industry don't have much time to worry about what other oaks are doing and the negative shit that's going on with them. We've got to focus on what we can do and what we can sustain for the good of the future. But it's unfortunate that I think um I think the industry is going in a very negative spiral, and now there's a catch-22 with Trump coming in. A lot of guys could see dollar signs, or a lot of guys could see massive opportunity to grow their networking base and really handle it from there. But we're moving through this list without even thinking of it because I've got a bunch of questions. But so we missed the opportunity to sit down with Bossy as well. I mean, you on a epic spring break hunt, what it looked like. But I wanted to get your feeling on what you thought initially of the South African hunter, more specifically, the sustainability around South African hunters. Are outfitters price hiking animals? I mean, I know we've spoken about it a lot, but chatting to you now, I would like to get your opinion on that.
Look, it's a tough one because of where everyone's looking to make money straight up. And when they're wanting an American oak to come out, then obviously the prices go up. And I try and explain it to the easiest way to paint a picture for this is where landowners are putting the prices up. That's where you got to start. The landowners are putting the price up because they want the American. Okay. If the American doesn't shoot it, unfortunately, the poor bloody South African on this side, he's coming into under that damn price. So they are getting priced
Um,
out because that landowner is used to getting those higher prices. Saying this as well, there are a lot of South Africans that are willing to shoot at those prices. My brother being one of them. He he works really hard to make sure he's got a full season of hunting. Yeah, um, and he's turned his hunting for himself for pleasure. He goes out there, he works his fat off. He's not like the rest of the ice are going to hand their meat in elsewhere. He processes everything to make money, sells, puts a bit in his freezer so he can go on his next hunt. And he's quite happy to pay the going rate. But when you want South Africans to pay the going, and this is where we've had many a conversation. I've hunted South Africans with my brother, doing the South African side of it when I didn't have Americans to hunt, is availability will always get a higher price than a farm that is difficult to hunt. So that game farm there will fetch a higher price. The cattle farm that you're hunting on, where the oaks are hunting your sheep, goats and stuff, you really couldn't give a damn about the game. In my opinion, shouldn't get the price of that game farm. Because when I come and hunt here for 3 days and I see a rabbit and a squirrel and a leg of fawn, and I pay 1,000 odd rand a day for your to sleep in your shed, I'm also going to be pissed off because I want to see game. But on the other hand, guys are willing to pay that 1,000 rand a day, like your corporates and stuff like that, and go and hunt and have access to get ample amount of game in a short space of time. And I think that's where the whole hunting model has gone, including our American market, is that our hunts, I think I mentioned it in one of my posts on Instagram, is your minimum size hunt for an American back in the day was what? 12, 10 was a short, 12, 14, 2 weeks. That's kind of what they used to book. Now you've got oaks selling packages for 4 days, 5 days, and they've got 10, 12 animals on it. Having that game fenced scenario has created, you know, this whole idea of you can shoot lots in a short space of time. And I think having that has actually pushed the market up on the one hand, which is affecting the poor South African now because every farmer now knows that outselling his kudu down the road there for 30 grand, he also wants 30 grand. Um, and here's a prime example. My old man is one of those guys that farmer over there is getting 25 grand for his kudu or whatever the bloody price is. He also wants 25 grand for his kudu. All right. Now try and explain this to a farmer. That oak over there has got a fence around his farm and he can hunt it from January to January. He can hunt 40 foot. Okay. You got a stock farm. You can only hunt for 3 months of the year. You got a farm that's as thick as hell and you can't find the game. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunistic animal. So if you want your PHs to come and hunt here, they can only come and hunt kudu in those 3 months. You got to give the PH an incentive to come and hunt here, or the outfitter to buy your game, and your game isn't easy. Outfitters are not going to send their PHs to difficult farms. He's not going to send his PH to a difficult farm to pay the same price as that farmer down the road with the game. Make sense? So
yeah, but can I
you
jump
know,
in? Can I jump in here quickly?
yeah,
So so I had the wonderful opportunity of going down to Cambridge, Maryland, to hunt a cycad deer, right? And during my
yeah,
time there, I spent with everything. I think the initial tag cost me 500 and something odd dollars, but I think with
yeah,
everything, buying boots and all that sort of stuff, I was close to about $1,000 in the hole, right? And we hunted hard. and I mean, it didn't look like it because we were stuck in tree stands. But I mean, it's difficult hunting there. But I mean, to even think of walking and stalking in those conditions was near impossible. So anyway, so it was a different experience. But the fact of the matter is that I paid my $500 to shoot or possibly shoot a saka deer, stag, or female,
Yeah.
or whitetail stag or female, and I never saw anything. The
Yeah.
only time we saw a saka deer was on our way to dinner one night. We were driving along the road, and one female jumped, or a young spiker deer jumped across the road. The fact of the matter is, I don't get to
Yeah.
go back to the convenience store and go buy my tag back, or go get a refund on my tag, right? So the
Exactly.
and this is where the interesting conversation is, and I've got a lot of flack, or I am getting a lot of flack on my podcast for referencing the podcast I did with Cole the other day. But it's so true. I think because he's changed my perspective on a lot of things, and I think what us as South Africans need to understand is that we need to value our animals more as a commodity than what it is as a resource. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is that, like you said, the farmer down the road, he's probably got easier conditions, but the fact of the matter is, it's still the same animal. It's still the same species of animal. Yes, he does have a better opportunity, but it's because he's created that, because he is getting the resource back out of it. I mean, if you look at it as a diamond mine, and there's a 24 carat diamond out of that river, and there's a 24 carat diamond out of that river, but that river's got easier facilities to harvest that diamond, and that one doesn't. You're going to go and make easier possibilities for that very same one if it's valued at the same purpose, because you're going to have more opportunity there, because the other guys are always going to go to the easier spot. So it's been playing in my mind, and this is why I wanted to chat to you about it, is because I think a lot of the time is I don't like referring to saying, oh well, the Americans, they charge Pat $500, they charge me 500, they charge everyone across the board $500. I don't think that's how it should be, but
Yeah.
I do think in essence, the South African market does need to put in a little bit more effort into wanting to get these prices, pretty much like your brother does, with harvesting, processing his own animals, making a quick buck out of that, and then making sure he's got enough for his next hunt. So that's essentially my point I was trying to get at. And I was wondering, like, also incentivize the farmer to keep
Like,
those animals there.
but that's very true there, Dylan. It's like you visited me here with Pat to come do the bush pig blast. So that's a money thing. You got to spend money to get those pigs baited and coming in. All right. And now we've got the pigs on your property. The pigs are there, but no one's going to shoot the bush pig unless you feed the bush pig, you know, or you pay a dog handler to come with the dogs and you run the dogs. So both sides of whichever style hunting you want to do is going to cost you money for you to shoot that pig with the client to make the money from the client. It's any business related thing. So you got to spend the money to make it easier to get the animal so your client's happy. So at the end of the day, it's like my old man. I'm the outfitter, and he always looks at me and he goes and he looks at what I'm charging, and I'm going, don't look at what I'm charging as the outfitter. What do you want for your animal? Okay, give me a price on what you want for your animal, and I'll sell it for whatever I want. Because at the end of the day, it costs me to market your animals. It costs me to come here with my staff. It costs me to do the hunt, to be here day after day to shoot that pig. You know, even though we're sitting in a blind, there might be 4 blinds. Who's running the blinds? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I think a lot of people don't see that of the cost involved to have those species and have those animals. So I think this another topic that leads off of this is farmers seeing what outfitters are charging in dollars now all of a sudden convert and want a more of a lot for their animals. And I looked at the one farmer the one day when he doubled his price on kudus, and I said to him, I said, but you've outpriced yourself now. I can't take your kudu and market into or convert it into dollars to make the money to hunt it with the client. It's outpriced. So he said, how? You're earning so much in dollars. I said, but you must remember, I'm going to pay the PH that day to come to your farm. I'm going to pay the tracker that day to come to your farm, whether I'm the PH or the tracker or whatever. A lot of the times there's travel involved, so the fuel is going to be added into that. The kudu may be, 2,000 US dollars or whatever that I'm getting paid for it. More than half of that I'm paying you, but I've still got to cover my costs on top of that, and I've still got to market to get that American year first. And marketing doesn't come free. And I think that's where the landowners miss the picture. Yeah, especially like you and I, we look for land to hunt on. So we got to make relationships with farmers and try and explain to them. It costs us to go overseas. It costs us doing this, having a conversation. It costs us running your social media platforms. You advertise on your social media platforms. It costs you. It costs you to have a website. Those costs all have to come from, somewhere. You got to cover those costs, and selling answers how we cover the costs. And I think the landowners go and see what we're getting in dollars, and all of a sudden hike their prices up too to come close to that. And to try and get the old farmers to understand that we're putting a lot in to bring clients to hunt your kudu. And I think just the old guys take a little longer to understand that. My dad being one of them, he struggles with that. He looks at all my trail camera pictures and says, why haven't you shot these animals with the clients? I'm like, because those things walking around here when I've got no one, you know what I mean? So, it's an interesting conversation, sitting and having a few beers. And like Uncle Lionel, you and I sit and we have a conversation about clients and hunters and PHs every time we have a break. And it's funny how we'll bounce backwards and forwards things, and then I turn and I say to him, but you hunting on a game farm, I'm not. Because he also sees my photographs. A lot of these folks follow my social media. Wayne, look at those animals there. I said, well, come and hunt it here. You need to get, why haven't you shot the kudu? I said, well, because the only time it was out of season. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go shoot it, after August.
Yeah. Wayne, another topic I wanted to pick your brain on. I actually had this interesting interaction with a mate of mine. He's got a game farm just outside town, and stuff. And like, it was just one of those conversations that just kind of happened. He's such a genuine oak, and he's a very humble guy, and he doesn't like disappointing a lot of people and stuff. And to some sense, I think a lot of guys take advantage of that. And do you see, especially the bigger institutions, the bigger outfitters and stuff, they come into these smaller establishments and they shoot the shit out of it, and then they don't put anything back, and then piss off to the next property because they've run out of resources that side. Is it? I mean, I've recently been a little bit more aware to it, but is that something you've been aware of for a long time, or doesn't it happen as much as what I think?
You can see I'm smiling, hey. You
Yeah.
can see I'm smiling. I'm putting it the same. Yeah. So there are companies that I know of that do that, and once again, and they flatten the resources out. Because at the end of them, it's the number at the end of it. How many animals? What can they shoot? So one place I hunted for did that. That it was so bad in the sense that they never had quota on their own properties, because it was all about how many bums in beds, how many clients they could filter through. They were doing 300, 400 clients a year. And I'm talking back in 2010, eh? Yes, it's a lot of clients. And the PHs rolled in and out there, whether they knew what they were doing, where they came from, there was just lots of them. But the thing that they would do is like myself, I'd have my own hunting grounds, all right? And then I'd go hunting with my clients. At the end of the day, they paid. They paid the landowners. That was one thing that they were good at. There was never a landowner that I hunted at that was upset or disappointed that they hadn't been paid by the outfit. But the bugger comes in. That was my concession that I took your clients to. Once they've paid, they've got the contact details for themselves. Then they don't book you And then they've got PHs, they're looking for animals and they go through the invoices and the emails where they think, and then they email the farmer direct. And then those PHs, other PHs go and hunt it, and they flatten the place. That there's no game left. And like prime example was one of my places where I hunted kudu. They went and shot over 30 bulls there the one year, you know, and the farm probably could only sustain probably about, I want to say on the in a good season, you could maybe push 18 to 20 bulls up the place. It was a 6,000 hectare piece of ground, but you still want bulls for the next year, and you don't want to be shooting 39-inch cloud bulls as trophies. You want to, and that was a place where I didn't shoot anything smaller than a 47, 48-inch bull. Shot quite a few 50-inch bulls there, and that's what happened. And they cleaned that place up. And it was 2-3 years where they could only shoot maybe 5 bulls if they were lucky, and the quality was absolutely dog. Like I said, 39-inch mature bulls. That's scary. Yeah. And then the one thing was when you spoke to the oaks, they were, why did you shoot so many kudus like that? No, but the PHs told him it's a drought and they must shoot more kudus. That's only coming from the outfit to say, push for another bull. So every time that farmer says, no, I think it's enough, chaps. No, but eventually got one more from that conversation on the telephone. I've shot my quota. I'll just come shoot one. I'll just come shoot one more. When you look again, it's right. You couldn't, and then you stuff for the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, sometimes 5, depending on how much you hammer the place. That eventually that farm, what was a big thing with that farm too was that they had springbuck close to the area that we hunted. And I would go shoot springbuck there and shoot the kudu. And the deal that I had with the farm is, and the kudu were difficult to hunt. I said to him, well, I'll shoot a kudu first before I go after your spring. And other PHs are coming in. No, we're coming for kudu. They hunt the morning until 10 o'clock. Now they didn't see any kudu. Drive into the springbuck area, go hunt springbuck for the rest of the day, shoot a springbuck and drive out. So what they did was they hammered the springbuck. Because I think half the time they were talking nonsense about shooting their kudu, coming to shoot kudu there. They'd shot them elsewhere already. But it was an in. Now come shoot kudu. Don't shoot a kudu, shoot springbuck and drive off. Don't come back the next day for the kudu. So eventually that farmer did get wise up and said, well, no one goes near my springbuck until I see a kudu hanging in my shed. You know what I mean? Because they hammered his springbuck, too many. They shot way too many.
Because it also happens on the flip side where the guys go and hit the more desirable resource like the kudu or waterbuck or eland or whatever, and then they leave the other stuff. So the other stuff kind of, I know just outside of Tanya, there's a massive issue where guys are coming in and cleaning up the eland and the kudu stocks, but then they're not shooting the other stuff like impala and all that sort of stuff. And that's just getting riddled with it all across the board there now. And it's a little bit of a frustrating exercise, but if you look at yourself, and I've done this exercise, and I haven't come up with a clean answer on how I could. There's a lot of discussions. I had a discussion with one of the landowners that I utilize here. I said, well, is there any opportunity that I could maybe look at putting sable on the property or reinvesting in back into a herd or something like that? Or from your outfitter's perspective, I know you obviously use other properties for different species and all that sort of stuff. How would you like to recontribute back into that landowner, or do you think it's up to them or their responsibility that they should trust you enough to say, okay, listen, well, we've only got 3 bulls this year, let's just stick with 3 and take it from there?
Okay, look, I might have missed your question there, but I'll try and answer it. I stick strictly to my landowner's quotas. I even go out of my way to, when I go in there and look for game, I try and help him work on his quotas. And so another example was I was after zebra and I went into a farm where I was hunting blue wildebeest and I was hunting something else. I think it was nyala, and I was eating a zebra. The guy said to me, I've got zebra. You're more than welcome to shoot one. I drove around his whole property and realized, hang on here, he's got a bugger up. He let PHs come in there before, and they obviously couldn't sex the damn zebra. And they went and shot the main herd stallion, and it killed all the youngsters. So he was a whole year, behind
Yeah.
his whole breeding program. And I drove out and I said to him, I said, listen, I didn't shoot a zebra because you've got a problem here that young stallion that's running around has killed all your babies, because we were finding dead zebra babies all over the place. And he was like, how'd that happen? I said, well, somebody's gone and shot your herd stallion. So I suggest you put a handbrake on your zebra for the next year, which he actually appreciated, because it could have been that PH who walked in and shot a zebra and left, you know. And
Yeah.
I think this is what irritates me most about it. Why are we called PHs? If you're just going to go in and shoot stuff, what the hell do you need a credential as a PH? You are a professional hunter. Be professional. Those landowners have got animals there. Half of these landowners have got animals and they don't know the difference between a trophy and a non-trophy. They're just getting paid at the end of it. So I go out my way to help my landowners work on their quotas. I try my best with my clients to kind of hunt self-sustaining herds if I'm going to be hunting, like buffalo and stuff like that. So, for example, where I'm hunting my buff next year with my clients, it's out of a self-sustaining herd. I'm not going to go and hunt in a camp where there's 10 bulls. I'm not going to go shoot 10
Yeah.
bulls out of go pick two out of a thing. So I think the big thing is trying to help guys that are willing to keep game, is trying to get them to get to sustaining herds where they can shoot a select number of trophies a year and have trophy year after year. Did I answer your question there, but
Yeah, no, perfect. You hit the nail on the head. But also another thing, what is, what do you, I'm trying to figure out the perfect way to word this question is, what would you say to any farmer out there that would like to not advertise but put his animals out there? Or how would he need to look for that correct outfitter that's gonna help him sustain his herd or sustain his animals for the future and stuff like that? Just like
yo,
finding the correct pH.
yo, yeah, that is a tough one. I don't know. I think that farmer is going to have to do a bit of research on who's getting to come and hunt there. I think most connections we make are either through family and friends, or friend of a friend, or an uncle down the road, and then you make a connection there and you try and help him as best as you can. If you're one of those professional hunters, let's put it straight out there. If you're one of those other professional hunters, you're going to go in there and just go shoot what you need every time, and until you tell the farmer that there's nothing left. But to try and help a farmer pick, yeah, that's a tough one. My cousin ended up in a situation with some outfitters where they came and hunted there and shot and shot and shot and didn't pay. And that's a different kettle of thing. But it's very difficult, I think, for a landowner to pick. He's got to obviously know someone on a personal basis. Um, so so an example for one of my hunting areas where I used to hunt back, the agreement was when I went in there to go and hunt, I was the face. The the landowner knew me. He didn't know the outfitter. He couldn't care who the outfitter was. So if anything went pear-shaped with the outfitter, regarding anything, whether it was I made a bugger up there, I made a mess and the outfitter is getting flack for it, or, just making examples, or the outfitter didn't pay or whatever, the farmer came after me, not the outfitter, because he doesn't know the outfitter. And now that's just having a personal, in with the farmer. And I was quite happy to do that. Now I got into a situation with a new outfitter that I hunted for. I didn't know him from a bar of soap, but needed a kudu and a bushbuck. And I went to that farm, shot a kudu and a bushbuck, and the invoice was supposed to be paid within 14 days or whatever it was. And the guy hadn't paid. But the outfitter hadn't even paid me as a PH, 2 weeks later, where a lot of this crap happens. And he's been paid in full by, the clients. The clients left. I was there, I did the paperwork, I paid, they swapped their cards. Mate's sitting with his money, but he hasn't paid any of us. And I had to go and cover that bill. I actually had to go ask my old man for bucks to go cover that bill. So I could wait for the PA for my PH money, and I told the outfitter, I've settled, you got to pay me now because you've left me in a very tricky situation. My landowner doesn't
Mm.
want me to do any more clients there until the bill set. So yeah, I don't look. I can't answer that question. I don't know how a farmer's got to really figure that out. If there was a place where you could put it all out there and go, pick from this list, these oaks are good to work with, and pick from across these buggers, or that would be the perfect world. But I don't know, dude. That is a tough one. Um,
Mm.
yeah, like I say, I've rocked up at farms where the farmer goes, "Who is the outfit?" And he goes, "No, he's not welcome here." But it's not because of you; it's because of something else that happened before. So
Yeah.
some farmers, they cotton on quickly. They're only going to get their fingers burned once. But in an industry that we're in, where we rely on farmers and rely on their resources to make a business for us, we shouldn't be burning our farmers. We should be looking after them. And I think the problem with our industry is there are too many guys that are too willing to burn him, and they don't go back, because they're not going to hunt
Mm.
elsewhere. And then that poor farmer never gets paid for his game and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. Chuma, how would you explain to the landowner who to pick and how to vet his outfitter, or PH is coming to the
No, no.
property? It's a tough one, eh?
I was asked the question the other day. I mean, this guy's recently bought two cattle farms in our area, and he said he
Yeah,
pushed new roads into the mountains, and he just said he's got such an abundance of game. I mean, obviously, I said to him, I said, look, I'd snap it up in a heartbeat, but being how I am, I don't know if I could shoot his quota out in a year, but he's going to have to look for like reputable outfitters that are going to be able to do that for him. And he said to me, he said, well, look, we'll help him along the way. And I was like, this poses a very difficult question because a lot of guys in those sort of situations and realize they've got this resource. And it's not necessarily that this farmer wants to go and shoot them out of his mountain. It's not the case. He just wants people to
yeah,
come out and enjoy it and have the opportunity to shoot kudu.
and do it properly.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
do.
the big thing is do
Yeah.
it properly.
Well, that's exactly it. He's a more of a nice guy, and we really got on well. So I was just curious because it's it's probably happened more often than not, and a lot of guys have burnt their fingers with it. But I'm sure it's one of those questions that might be a little bit too tough to answer. I can understand, but well, staying on the outfitting side of things, and I'm getting towards the end of my list here, but I've got written down here. So from what you've learned this year as an outfitter, what are you going to plan to do differently as far as things like marketing and approach maybe for next year?
It's a tough one because it's like I was sitting here, I was chatting to my wife about it. And I was like, yes, what do I do? What do I do differently to other outfitters that gets clients to choose to go hunt elsewhere instead of booking with me? I think that's a tough one to try as a the amount of effort and work I put in and the amount of reward I'm busy getting back at the moment. It's difficult because I'm not getting reward back. And I can see I'm putting out great content. I'm marketing in the right places. Um, but I'm also no bullshit, no filter. I'm not going to sell you a fake story. And I'm not going to take your money if you're not the fit for me. So I don't know what I would change. I think I'll just carry on working hard what I'm doing and being honest and transparent with anyone that contacts me for a hunt. Um, the biggest thing that I found as an outfitter, which is really difficult to figure out, is what the American client is actually wanting. Because I'm under this impression that we've gone and spoiled the American client. Straight up. Because I offer the experience, the hunt, the actual hunt. I don't have a 5-star lodge where the oak gets a 3-course, 4-course meal at dinner time. We get home cooked meals. Yeah, my wife cooks or wherever I guest lodge or whatever. You're not going to go hungry. You've got excellent staff that are looking after you. Um, and we hunt. But the problem that I'm finding with me is I can't make my day rate cheaper than the guy who's got the 5-star lodge. That's a tough one. Um, so my day rate will be the same as Sonic Safaris, but my facilities aren't the same. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
my lodgings still give you a hell of a hunt and a hell of an experience, but I haven't got the 5-star lodge. And I think that might be my downfall, but I can't cost it any other way because at the end of the day, I've got to pay for these places. They own their places. So I actually think the bigger companies should be charging more. So, you know, if you think of it in the grand scheme of things, you work out what your hunt costs you in the States. You work out what the American guy's willing to go on a sheep hunt and sleep in a tent and eat dehydrated food to go and shoot sheep in the mountains. And what we charge him to come and shoot the kudu here and live in a 5-star lodge. Yes, but we should be
But
charging
you
him
don't,
way more.
I agree, right? And the interesting thing about my experience when I went over there, and I guess this is what I really want to do a lot more of, um, is experiencing these different opportunities. When I went over there and our first day we meet the outfitter, fuck, but our standards in South Africa are very, very, I mean, our outfitters
Yeah,
compared to what, I mean, even if you take their outfitters and or their guards and you even convert them to on the level of our PHs,
yeah,
majority of our professional hunters are very well presentable. They've got some sort of knowledge. We've slated a lot of youngsters, but they really hold their own against what I experienced over that side. And I'm not saying the whole of America is like that.
yeah,
What I'm saying is that we've set a very, very high standard here. And I agree with you. I mean,
yeah,
this year I had Zach and Lacey. They came out. I had Pat and I had a bunch of other guys and Duncan and all of them. But what my essential feeling is on it is that those guys that are prepared to do the camping and go after sheep and hunt out for 10 days straight and see a bull on the last evening and stuff, they wanting the South African experience. They don't want the fancy 5-star meals. They don't want the dessert at the end of every
yeah,
dinner day or dinner meal or whatever the case may be. They want to come out and they want the intimate experience. And because
yeah,
when I go over there, that's what I want. I don't want the 5-star stuff. I want to
yeah.
experience American hunting as raw and as true as what it is. And those guys are going to be able to come out now, I think, with the whole Trump election. So, yeah, I think
Well,
that's the way we're
then you've
leaning more.
hit the nail on the head. Because those guys aren't the guys that were hunting when Trump wasn't president. The guys that are hunting are the oaks that are sitting in their fancy hotels and are big ass businessmen that are making millions of dollars a year. They're the ones that came out now. Now, fingers crossed, those guys that we are looking for, like those go getters that I want boots on the ground, let's go and walk, come and experience 10 days. If you shoot 5 animals, so be it. But I'm taking you on out of hand. I'm hoping those guys come out next year because I think that's what's going to be good for our industry. Um, the guy driving around shooting from a pickup isn't good for our industry. But like I say, that the big companies have built to such an extent now that people expect that fancy lodging to when they come surfing it. That I myself have gone and looked for a more upmarket lodge to host my clients in. Because my accommodation I feel doesn't make the grade. But meanwhile, there's nothing wrong with my accommodation. I've had guys in my accommodation and absolutely enjoyed it because it's rustic, it's homely. The guys are yeah in my house. That's that personal feel and touch that I put towards my hunting. Um, but now I'm looking at hiring. someone else's lodge, with sea views. You know what I mean? To make
Yeah.
sure that when if they bring their wife with, there's a nice place for her to stay and read a book. You know, but when you come to Africa, you're supposed to be in the bush and experiencing the true meaning of hunting in SA.
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what what the whole point of South African hunting. And like we said, I think we've spoiled them too much because there are those guys that still want. I mean, if they're going to come out and spend $10,000 and what's an extra $2,500 after a 10-day hunt to go to Cape Town or Port Elizabeth and put their feet
Yeah,
in the sand and dip their toes in the salt water. But Wayne, before I close, I know you've got a little one, so it's sleepy. But before I close
I
on
like
this one,
I like this.
what I wanted to. I must say, you do look very refreshed for a little one that's only what 8 months now.
Yeah.
But I wanted to close with your personal opinion on two things, and I would like you to start with the PHs first, and then go into like your freelance outfitters. But do you do you think it's still a sustainable lifestyle for both being a professional hunter and being a freelance outfitter?
Uh, well, dude, it's a tough one. If I'm talking about this year, hell no, because like I said, I had bookings and everything canceled. Um, and I had no income through hunting. So if you're an established, look, I'm established. I've hunted many of my own clients, but you do have the years where you don't book clients, or what do you do? So I do think you need to have something else in the pipeline, in some form of other income or investments or whatever, so to get you through those things, or family member, your spouse, if you're married, to something that can help you through those tough times, because it is a good business to be in when it's good. It's a crappy business to be in when it's crappy. Talking about PHs, man, the Oaks that have been doing it for years, and I still don't know how they do it. And I still don't know. I do the maths, what the Oaks are paying now. Yeah, the guys have made money because of the Rand dollar exchange. Yeah, they've made money this year. But what happens if the Rand dollar exchange? You can't rely on the tips. So, in my opinion, it's not it's not sustainable to be just a PH, um, unless you are in a big company. Look, put it this way. Let's rephrase it. I don't think it's going to be sustainable if you are a freelance PH and you're not getting enough hunts seasonally. Because if you work it out, you got to do about 200 odd days a year, 250 days a year. Back then, when I was doing it freelance, that's what you needed to make a living. You needed to do 200 plus days to have a half decent lifestyle. Pay for your vehicle, pay for your um, and I think it's very difficult as a freelance PH to do 200 days a year. Um, there are very few oaks that I know of this season that have done 200 days a year. So I think a lot of the guys that are doing it have got some other form of income, or in their downtime, they have some form of income. So between now, where everyone's finishing up, most guys are finishing up the season now, and they'll only start in April again. Very few guys start in February. Still too damn hot. But there are a few PHs that start in February, March. So you got to look at April is where you start. And then you run your season from April until, I want to say end of September, maybe into October. If you're a freelance guy and you're hunting in October, you're still doing well. If you're hunting in November, shit, good on you. So, yeah, I always was a freelance guide. When I got to September and I had no more bookings after that, I knew I had to start counting my pennies from September until the following April to keep a head above water.
Shit, man, you've touched base on a lot of wonderful topics here, but like always, it's always a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I want to take this opportunity to wish you well on your podcast adventure. I can see it being a massive success, and it's
Thanks.
something that the industry definitely needs this of. So good luck and smash it out the park. But yeah,
Yeah, shot
great.
put. Really appreciate it. I think I'm gonna ruffle a lot of feathers. So yeah, stay tuned. I might be might have a lot of people knocking on my door and pissed off with me. But the truth is, I think we owe it to the international clients that we rely on to keep our doors open and to stay honest to what it's all about. I think we
Mm.
definitely need to start weeding out the guys that are ruining it for the evident. No, I hope it does that.
Where can we find it?
Well, at the moment, it's only on Spotify and it's under Stalking Shadows.
Okay. Awesome. Well, all the best. Look, and yeah, obviously we keep in touch on a pretty regular basis. I'm sure you'll hear from myself or I'll hear from you pretty soon. So all the best, and we'll chat
Yeah,
soon.
short put. Really
Okay.
appreciate it, man.